people to Jamaica Uncut, and we are going to check out the Rosehall Great House, and we are going to come back with some story about Annie Palmer, the White Witch, where them say kill all our husband them and them thing there and still haunt these grounds today. So we're going to check it out and, you know, do the touristy thing and do a tour and see if we can get some footage for sure, no? Alright, so Jamaica Uncut road trip, Rosehall Great House in a Mobay, soon forward. Tisha. So now you have a name. Alright.
I have it before, but my name.
But you did Leffy. Yeah, man. So you hear that she did have her name, but she did Leffy. She lost her name. So now she have an official name. Alright.
Today it's privately owned by an American couple, Michelle, late John Rawlings. They're from Wilmington, Delaware. The Rawlings bought this house 1965. They had it restored 1966 to 1971. They spent 2.5 million US dollars on restorations. The Rawlings did not disclose their purchasing cost. So the house, though it was much bigger, it was also called a calendar house. There are two extensions on it, east wing and the west wing. They both had covered walkways. It had carried 365 windows, 52 doors, and 12 bedrooms, signifying 365 days of the year, 52 weeks, and 12 months. When the Rawlings bought this house, the two wings were badly damaged. They tear them down.
What damaged them?
Natural disaster.
Oh, hurricanes and storms and stuff.
They were made from wood and brick, but the structures of this house, it is made from limestones that came from off ballast ship from Europe. It was in exchange for sugar and rum. Here in Jamaica, we do import 70% of limestones. So that answer your question?
More than enough.
All right.
And how long have the property been administering tours like this one? Or being open to the public in the way that it is now?
Over 60 years.
60 years.
Has it been destroyed since they repaired it?
No, we have not had, not through any hurricane or anything. We haven't had any damage.
Oh, okay, cool. And who maintains this property now?
The Rawlings are the ones
They're
that
still alive?
yeah, well, John Rawlings.
Okay.
Remember, as I said, he passed away. But Michelle, she's still alive. She has her children that also have deep interest on the property, just to say.
Okay, cool.
the ropes not to go over, chairs not to sit on. What you're looking at this morning is a mansion. Sugarcane plantation it was. It had 6,600 acres. There were over 2,000 slaves that was working on it. This house began 1750, completed 1780. So it took 30 years for this house to finish. It had started by George Ash. He was a wealthy English planter who named it after his wife Rose, hence the name Rosehall. George Ash, he died 2 years later, but Rose remarried 3 other times. It was her last husband, the Honorable John Palmer, who had completed this house. When the both died, they had no children. This house then willed to his grandnephew, John Rose Palmer. He later met and married Annie Mae Pattison in 1820. She then became the second and the last mistress, so-called White Witch of Rosehall. Now, in 1905, the Hendersons had bought this house was to live in. Their maid was cleaning upstairs. She fell from Annie's balcony, broke her neck and died. The Hendersons believed this place was haunted. They were the ones that stripped this house of all the woodwork and furniture. They moved to Kingston, where they built a house called Braemar. Before the Hendersons stripped this house, they were the ones that taken photographs of the interior. That is what the Rawlings could use to restore this house back to its original form. Now, throughout this house, all the woodwork, they are made from Jamaican mahogany. Furnishings, genuine 17th, 18th, and early 19th century pieces. Fabric is on the walls, not wallpaper. They're silk fabric, which changes 5 to 10 years. It is caused by humidity here in Jamaica. This part of the room that we're in, it is called the ballroom. The Palmers would socialize their wealthy friends. They would dance to 17th and 18th century chamber music. No reggae or Bob Marley back then. This grandfather clock in the corner. It was donated to this house by the late famous country western singer, Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash, he once had a great house 5 minutes drive away from here in Cinnamon Hill.
Explain the Asian decor. Where that came from? What inspired that? If you know.
Mrs. Rawlings.
She's Asian.
No, remember she's an American.
Oh, she's American.
But if right throughout the house, you're gonna notice a lot of pieces that are different to different cultures.
Oh.
Things that are Asians.
And I realized that the same fabric that they use to do the wall is the same fabric they do for the chairs.
Yes.
Nice.
All right. Now we're in the library. Business discussions were held here. The portrait on the wall, original Rose. She's the first and good mistress. Rosehall was named after her. She had 4 husbands, all of whom died naturally. Unlike Annie, she had murdered all 3 of hers. We have no portraits of Annie. The night she died, slaves burnt all her personal belongings. They did not like Annie for her cruelty. Annie came here to Jamaica searching for a wealthy husband. She met and married John Rose Palmer. Slaves gave her the name White Witch because she was wicked. 11 years Annie lived in this house. 65th century mahogany cane chair unfolded. It becomes a library steps to reach high shelves for books and records. The average height of people back then were 5 feet 2 inches tall. There were short people back in those days, but still is. From here, we're gonna go straight across the room.
No, sir, you can't hide. People don't hear the wood creaky.
Alright, you're both welcome to the main dining room. This was where the Palmers would dine when there are guests in the house. In the center is a four-piece pedestal, Sheraton, banquet table, chairs, ribbon, Chippendale. Directly across, a piece mahogany break front with 18th century trade Chinese dishes on display. Someone took picture of the chandelier. Formation of a flying bat appeared in it. Next, on this side of the wall, we have an original portrait that is King Louis XVI of France. He was beheaded in the Revolution War. The French governing Haiti, and he coming to Jamaica, she brought it with her. Here, Sheraton sideboard table with a Sheraton knife box. Once closed, it is locked with a key. So the tiny holes, dinner knives, would place in it. So from here went through lower gallery. No one knows who they are. It's an original portrait made in the early 18th century. Neither Annie nor Rose had children. Psychics believe the girl in red could be Annie. Annie's favorite color was red. If you walk the pathway, take a look at the girl in red. You'll notice her head and eyes turns along with you. Go ahead, give it a try. See how much the girl in red likes you to come with you. She coming with you? Was the condition of how the house had looked when the Rawlings bought it in 1965. The house may look as if it was burned. It did not at any time. The area that you bought in was used as the reception hall, but there would have been the main entrance. You could not make an abrupt entrance in the ballroom back then. Kitchens were made on the outside. They were afraid of the main houses to be burned. It is called the morning room or breakfast room, where the Palmers would dine when there are no guests in this house. Table, heifer white, chairs, early Queen Anne. Look to my right is a mahogany Welsh dresser. Pewter pieces are on display. Pewters containing tin and lead. Eating and drinking from pewters could lead to brain poisoning. They believe that what could have made Annie a little bit crazy. Look to my left. On the wall is an 18th century plumbing system or copper lavabo that was used for washing of hands and silverware before and after meals. The pipe broken from underneath the top piece where the water would drip in the pan. On the floor is a wooden bucket. You can take it up, feel the weight of it. It's an original wooden bucket. It weighs 15 pounds. But it's doubled when filled with water. I call it muscle builder.
Wow.
It was used by slave children.
Really heavy.
Ages 5, yes, to 10 years old. To carry water in the wooden bucket, 1.5 miles away from here.
Wow.
If the water spilled from those slave children, they would get 10 lashes across their back.
Wow.
The wooden bucket was to help building their tiny muscles, preparing them to work in the fields. All right, so you're both welcome to what was used as the family's sitting hall. Out there, replica balcony, where the maid fell in 1905, broke her neck and died. Safe to stand on, as long as no pushing. The balcony was much more extensive, and underneath there was no roof.
Oh.
The spirit of Annie, they believe, pushed the girl over. It was Annie's favorite place. She would either sit or stand, watch her slaves punished or beheaded out in the courtyard. So it was a form of entertainment for her.
So people, this is where this all the way back here used to be the plantation where slaves would plant.
Sugarcane
Or
fields
sugarcane,
were half a mile
yeah.
away from the main house.
Yeah.
So it will not be anywhere close to the main houses.
Are the cells on the house or further away from the house?
On the house.
They're in the
on
house.
This house.
Oh.
They had no food, no water, no medical attention. Those slaves were left to die.
Wow.
Slave quarters, they were 3 miles away from here.
3 miles.
3 miles.
Wow.
Now, you may step inside. The first room that you may enter in is called cruel. It is not because of the cruelty done here why it's called cruel, but fabric and embroidered or hand stitched in India. Annie strangled her third husband here, having the help of Tackoo. They said what goes around comes around. The beds, you'll notice how short they are. They were not because of average height of people back then. They sat up or they curled sleeping. Believed that was good for their digestive systems. They were considered to be late eaters, so they thought lying down they would choke and die. Or best route, their 18th century mahogany. Toilets were far away from this house, and to my right, indoor toilet or commode. Every bedroom would carry one. Once used, servants were made to come up and empty it. So when you're through, second room. Toile de Jais, French fabric. This room is one of the coolest rooms once it is windy. Annie stabbed her second husband here in his sleep numerous times, making sure that he was dead. Hot oil, and it poured in his ears, so the brain exploded, and bloodstains could be seen here. Not sure it's there today. These fabric are on the floor. Next, my beautiful people, the red room. Now you're welcome to Annie Palmer's bedroom. The red fabric, it tells the passionate nature Annie had for blood. She was hot-blooded and hot-tempered. Annie was strangled in this room by Tackoo. Portrait hanging on the wall to my left. Portrait hanging on the wall to my right. They're original. Still no one knows who they are.
And nobody know who drew them?
No, there's no signature.
Mm.
There was a sad face on the headboard when someone took a picture of it. To my left is an original chaise lounge, fainting couch, or day bed. It was not customary for husbands and wives to sleep together. Annie would pretend that she was fainting whenever she needed the attentions of her husbands. Annie also blamed deaths of the husbands on yellow fever virus, a contagious disease back then. Each time she murdered her husbands, slaves were the ones come and get the bodies, went to the seashore and buried them. On their way coming back, Annie ordered her overseers to meet those slaves, got them beheaded. She had covered her tracks. Alright, so you're in Annie Palmer's sitting room or tea room. Intimate discussions Annie would held here. Original mirror, chiffonier, it was Annie's favorite. There was a gentleman from Canada who took pity of the mirror. A woman appeared. Orders taken, received different images. Second original, her sewing box.
Oh.
Where Annie found time to sew, no one knows. But she did.
With all the killing that she have to do.
Exactly.
Is what when you actually saw.
But I assumed she sold her voodoo dolls. The long string is behind you. Replica, bell pull. It was extended out in the rear courtyard. It was used to ring servants when needed their aid. On the wall, to the left, pictures of former English governors for Jamaica. This room is called the gentleman's room. The first husband of Annie, whom she had poisoned, pouring arsenic in his coffee. It is called rat poison. After his death, she became the wealthiest plantation owner in this area. Annie lived with the first husband 6 years, the second husband 2 years, and third husband 6 months. The last room in the house, it is your room.
And you where you go sleep?
These 5 bedrooms. Well, it's the safest room in the house.
Cause nobody not dead in here yet.
Not as yet.
Yet.
No problem.
And then there's one that commode.
Yes, that's a smaller.
But it's very
project.
small though, very low to the
Just
ground.
If you have intentions of building for a child, that would be actually how an idea would have come to you.
Oh, so you presume that they were planning on having children. That never happened. So this was meant to be the child's room, or would have been the child's room. Downstairs we go. Alright, people, so we are going down in the dungeon and now. Wish you luck. Them say most people who go into the dungeon now come back. So we will check out the dungeon and forward. Jamaica Uncut, Rosehall Great House, the White Witch of Rosehall, Annie Palmer, and this is us viewing the Great House.
I'll be going down the staircase. I'm going to ask the boats, please be extremely careful. The stones all the way through the original coral from the reef, so it is slippery. the support rail to the side. We don't want to blame anything on Annie. Watch your head. We won't be coming back this way. Alright, so during the restorations, the Rawlings, who are the ones that made an entrance for that side, it was used for storing of food and rum, now converted into Annie's pub. Our house special is also called the Witch's Brew. It is made from plantation rum with fruit juices. These beams are called bullet wood. Tiny holes or slots in the walls, few others around, form of ventilation. Slaves are in this area. This was the dungeon. Jail cells would be on either sides. They are now elevated and they're converted into modern days ladies and gents restrooms, safe to use.
This is the original ground plan?
This is a replica.
Okay, this is a replica.
Yes. This is where you're at the main house. The covered walkways, east and west wings. Toilets were far away, the courtyard. Ink, not blood. It points to where Annie is buried to the east garden. That is where the tour come to an end. Bear trap, human trap, original, found on property. No bears in Jamaica for the runaway slaves. This whip is a replica of a cat o' nine tail or cat used by overseers on slaves for punishments. Though it would plait in 9, makes it much thicker. Hooks would be at the end. Grab the skin of slaves, pull their skin, tear the skins apart. Cat o' nine tail.
People have used a lot of mahogany for work, but I have never seen a mahogany tree before. So for y'all who never see a mahogany tree before, this is a mahogany tree. And it's a really, really hard wood, no pun intended. But yeah, it's really, really tough and it makes amazing furniture.
It's not original, but but in the same spot she was buried December 1831, a simply earth grave. I'm gonna sing you both a ballad of Annie Palmer Tomb song. The late Johnny Cash written the song for the Great House, and this song will end your tour. On the island of Jamaica, long, long time ago, on Rosehall plantation, where the ocean breeze blow, lived a girl named Annie Palmer, the mistress of this place. Slaves living fair to see the frowns on Annie's face. Where are your husbands, Annie? 1, 2, and 3. All are sleeping beneath the palm trees near the Caribbean Sea. At nights I hear you riding, and I can hear your lovers call, and I can still feel your presence around the great house at Rosehall. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Alright people, so Jamaica Uncut, as we present to you the great house in Rosehall with the great Annie Palmer, and that was the story of the legend, the Wicked Witch of Rosehall. And I hope you like the presentation. Crazy stories, crazy stories. I'm sure some of them are made up stories, and some of them are probably real, some of them are presumed. So Jamaica Uncut, cut out.